Welcome to the Whose Body Is It podcast. I'm your host, Isabella Malvin. Today's guest is Dr. Suzanne Forbes-Vierling. Dr. Suzanne has 25 years of leadership experience in higher education, management, and mental health. She's provided organizational consultation to international community-based organizations from Eastern Europe, Malawi, India, and South America. She holds a PhD in clinical psychology and also loves to teach West African dance. I had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Suzanne in Washington, D.C. in March of 2021 as we protested the so-called Equality Act. In this truly enlightening episode, Dr. Suzanne discusses the intersecting capitalist systems such as the child welfare system, the industrial prison complex, the surrogacy industry, and the business of human trafficking that shape the lives of women and girls. She details the mechanics of the enslavement of Black women in the United States, the racist origin of terms like birthing body, and explains how controlling language and renaming Black slaves for the sake of domination and control parallels tactics used to force gender ideology onto women. Dr. Suzanne exposes the profit in the medical sales of women's bodies, specifically the placenta, and reminds us what happens to dissenters throughout history.
My name is Suzanne Vierling, and I have a background in mental health, organizational leadership, in academics, in leadership positions in higher education, also faculty teaching, overseeing faculty, some international consultation with trafficking, human trafficking, and child welfare and foster care. I have a lot of experience in foster care. And how child welfare works a little bit, all kinds of things. But yeah, I would say that's a broad overview. My education is in psychology. My doctorate is in psychology. But in this interview, I'm not going to be talking about clinical issues. So I know sometimes people want to add. Isabel, I know that that's not us, but people think, oh, can you give a clinical perspective on this? And that I won't in this type of world. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Oh, people want you to talk about diagnoses and DSM stuff?
Absolutely. Oh. Yeah. And I won't. My focus is taking a look at organizational systems and how women are impacted as we progress moving forward. And prior to that, a lot of the things that I worked on is always trying to help with system reform and system change. So I'm coming to this from taking a look at budgets and funding around poverty, homelessness, women that are incarcerated, girls that are trafficked, and the systemic, whether intentional or not, but the systemic benefits of all of these systems. So we have a homeless industrial complex, we have a child welfare, Jane Crow business, we have all of the businesses that have been developed as a result of the nonprofit industrial complex, so to speak. So I love looking at systems.
You said Jane Crow. Can you expand a little bit on what you mean by Jane Crow?
Well, it's another term for Jim Crow. We have a thriving, booming foster care business, foster care industry, child welfare industry in this country and around the world, where we do have, safety net systems. African American women have the majority of children that are in foster care. It's a disproportionate amount of Black children in the system. And I used to work with that and see that a lot. And Jane Crow is like it's like a term of, we're benefiting. A lot of people benefit off of children growing up in care and fostering out of care. So it ends up being a cottage industry.
Mm.
So teachers, social workers, analysts, managers, management systems, computer systems, the research that's done on child welfare and child abuse and all of that. It's an incredible amount of money, and it's a federal line, multiple federal line items that are of funds that are brought down from the federal level to the state and county levels. So all counties benefit off of the sad situations of mothers that lose their children to the system, whether fair or not. And it's it's a broken system. We also then have those children, girl children, move from foster care to trafficking, from foster care to pimps. There's almost like a handoff. So
like a pipeline kind of.
it's definitely a pipeline. And everybody looks and they think, oh, the foster parent, oh, the social worker. No, there are multiple positions and jobs and careers that are made. And you have university systems that make money because students go and major in social work, major in psychology, major in, all of these different things, public health, public nursing, and so forth.
I see. So what you're speaking to is the industry created around the abuse and neglect of
Absolutely.
children
The multiple industries. And Jane Crow is a little bit of a euphemism for talking about how all of these industries were led by white women. And Jim Crow is what was led and managed and maneuvered by white men. Who brushed off white women and said, "Okay, you can have these professions. We'll give you those professions. So that's your work, so to speak." So Jane Crow also has a little bit of that on it to parallel Jim Crow, which was a racist segregationist system that was in place here in the United States.
Right. And that leads us to one of the most common talking points, in favor of trans ideology and why trans women are women, which is, that it's racist to say otherwise, which I know you've spoken at length on this topic and kind of debunking why this isn't true, why saying that trans women are actually men and that trans is part of this industry is not the ultimate form of white supremacy, quite the opposite. So do you feel like we could jump in? Should we jump into that facet, or do you want to kind of take us back a little further?
Well, I do view everything that's happening a part of white supremacy and power and patriarchy. There's no other man on the planet that has the power to do what is happening today. Yesterday and day before yesterday, we found out about a grown man that's getting ready to be placed in a girl child facility, a girl juvenile detention facility in Los Angeles. Isabel, I'm gonna send you the.
So an adult, a man,
an adult man is L.A. County, Los Angeles County is placing an adult man into a girl juvenile detention facility. Girls that are there between the ages of 12 and 17, he's going to be placed there. So nobody else on the planet has a kind of power to do that, to make something like that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I see how things are moving so fast and how women have been just completely demoralized, just completely legally erased, legally pushed to the side, womanhood being spoken about as if it is some esoteric concept, instead of a biological reality. I don't look at it. I don't talk about what people want to do, how people feel. I don't body dysmorphia, gender dysphoria, and all that. That all of that has its place. But when you make these kind of decisions to put violent men in with women incarcerated, and now violent men in with girls, that lets you know that there is a movement afoot to say, okay, woman, read the room. You have a new position. We're pushing you down. Learn your place. Get in line. Obey. So there is a intentional power move going like this on womanhood all the way across the platform. It has nothing to do with individuals and how individuals feel. It's to make sure that the woman knows that she's being put in her place.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And like the rhetoric, the similarities between the like dehumanizing of Black women against white women, and then like women against trans women, like there are so many parallels there, like the the whole thing about cis women, right? That cis women we are a subset of woman is so dehumanizing. Just as the kind of racist talking points around Black women were right, that Black women were a subset of the invisible norm, white woman. So like I feel that in this, like I've learned so much from you about the history of the dehumanizing language that was used on Black birthing women, right? And enslaved Black women, to kind of make them less human so that their wombs could be used, and they could breastfeed other people's babies and whatnot. And so I know that everyone listening is going to get so much clarity because I'm from New York City. I was kind of indoctrinated through the doula world. It was a very racially diverse group that I was in for my training and for all of my kind of doula career in New York City. And across the board, everyone was using this language, menstruating human, birthing people. And I wish I had known you then to be like, this isn't right. But I'm so excited for you to give us the kind of historical reference for all of this.
Well, just so it doesn't sound so dry, I'm not going to use, little reference points. And we can always talk about, how to find some of this information. But when, we have to understand how powerful it was to make the decision to colonize Africa, the whole continent, in its entirety. Right? Europeans had learned how much value there was to the land and the people, the resources, the minerals, all of that. And when women were brought to the United States, well, when you conquer a continent, when you conquer a people, the women become the spoils of war. So African women came to the United States and the Caribbean and South America, and you end up automatically as a woman slave serving two purposes. One is whatever the labor that was required of you to do, and also sex slavery. So that's a given when you are conquered, taken, and brought into servitude. So this is what happened. Thomas Jefferson and his little buddies, everybody in Virginia, that was one of also Florida, but one of the recipients of slaves. Black women, African American women, came to the United States labeled chattel, labeled real estate, labeled merchandise. So right out the gate, you have labels and names for a female human being already. See, right now we're fighting the loss of our identity today. We're fighting being stripped of our identity of woman, mother, female. Okay. But Black women came already stripped of a proper name as woman. Then she inherited the title of sex slave. Then babies started coming. Now, one of the things that I want to just say overall is that Black women were considered currency in the South, better than cash. Black woman as Bitcoin. That's how I like to put it, because today Bitcoin is the new currency, or one of the new currencies. So Black women, if you had a fertile woman, a fertile Black woman, proven fertility, that woman became cash, became currency. But no one knew that the first week, the first month. See, so when you conquer womanhood, when you own womanhood outright, the possibilities are endless. So merchandise, real estate, chattel, sex slave, and then eventually currency, medical experimentation, and eventually the development of the bond market, which today is $120 trillion globally. So one of the things that Thomas Jefferson discovered, because he had a lot of debt, he had a very high life, high quality of life. He liked all the finer things in life, and he had debt. He literally put the women up, Black women up as bondage, bond, to pay off his debt. He owed the British banks, and he said, well, can I use the woman as collateral? And they said, sure, and became a thing. So women were traded like currency. Women were traded as bond. You literally could buy a house. You can buy a piece of land. You could make a speculative investment, putting the Black women that you owned up as something to secure the debt. Like I would show you the cash in my bank and say, well, I want to borrow and invest over there, invest in this thing over here. But if I lose it, I have this as a backup. Black children were then literally considered interest, especially if they made it past the age of 2. So the baby doesn't die. So you had now Black birthing body to create a child that's considered interest. See? So this dehumanizing language, the fact that it's back, I can't even, if I hear the word birthing body, I can't even breathe, or if I hear, vulva haver or anything like that, I said, good Lord, have mercy. So you have the Black woman had all of these lactation person, woman, whatever, midwife, because Black women were used to do that. Babies on the auction block, women that could be leased out to the brothels, on the gambling ships. So it's just this multiplicity of use, and also literally kept alive and kind of healthy to produce children. When I say healthy, I don't mean we're eating steaks and living well. I'm just saying enough to get babies to come through, because in the Caribbean enslavement of women, it was very difficult for women in the Caribbean to conceive because of the harsh conditions and the fact that those slaveholders didn't figure out that you
profits
can turn
on the other side
into currency, right? And use women, which eventually birthed the bond market here in the United States, and it became global. So it was just a little bit different. I'm sure some things along the line happened, but this was the case for African American women. So now here you are. We're in a complete repeat of all of that. Now, it's not to say that things stopped for Black women. Black women have remained, for a variety of reasons, not 100%, but impoverished enough to continue to feed multiple profitable systems. So the Black American woman experience is more locked and loaded, and it's going to advance into this new world order of dismantling women. So Black women, we're rolling along into what I call this fourth wave industrial economic system, this new capitalist system of the gender industrial capitalism, prostitution, egg harvesting. Literally, white children are being manufactured in birth for profit. People don't like to talk about it like that. You know, everybody loves to call everything empowering. Oh, this is so empowering. But literally, the woman is dismantled in multiple different ways, including mass incarceration. We incarcerate our girls that were sex trafficked. They get criminal records. It's unbelievable. So you can come from foster care to the pimp, to the prison, to probation, and make your way around and around and around. So I look at the whole of it, and it models what has already happened to African American women. So still to this day, African American women have to fight for their womanhood, fight for their femininity, fight for their existence as woman, and try to say, hey, I'm not the mule anymore. Get that off of me. I'm not I'm not carrying a load. Get that off of me. People love to make joke. Oh, the Black woman is masculine. Okay, well, get that off of me. I'm a woman. I define my womanhood. Still, after all this time, having to fight many people. The trans dominance. They just took that on, but it comes out of the Black community. It comes out of different stereotypes that came out of slavery about Black women being, tough and angry and the angry Black woman and all of that. So we're still fighting to get out of it, but we're talking 250 to 300 years of this experience. So knowing that history, and we were called birthing bodies. So when I hear Black female politicians talk about, we have to help Black birthing bodies. I'm like, girl, do you know your history? Why are you using this language? Why are you using this dehumanizing, misogynistic language? It's like a slap in the face. So it parallels perfectly. Now, what one woman did, you have one Black woman, she could be, medically experimented on, sent out to the brothels, give birth for the baby to be on the auction block, or her womb and the baby used as bond in the bond market, sexual servitude for whomever on the plantation, working in the fields, working in the house, and so on. It's just endless. It was just an endless supply of use. And you see it shaping up.
The inversions, my first thought when you were sharing was just how surrogacy, porn, prostitution has been inverted as that it could be possibly a source of power for women. I think of that, right? When it's the source of our oppression, how could it be
Absolutely.
the source of our power?
Absolutely.
And then like what you're describing with what Black women have been through and are still going through, almost like the prototype for what is happening now across the board, with the adoption of the language, the trafficking, surrogacy, egg harvesting, all of that. And I think, when I first started putting the pieces together, like I was pretty focused on hormonal birth control and how hormonal birth control, is just one facet of the way that it was experimented on Black and brown women, and then, as a kind of
Right.
population control and eugenics
Right.
a mission, and then it to be used and framed as the ultimate form of liberation
Right.
for all women. But when I think back to that, it's like that just feels like a drop in the bucket at this point, when we start to zoom out, as you have for
Right.
like harvesting our wombs. All of a sudden, a pill doesn't seem as crazy, which is terrible because it's all bad. But
Yeah. Yeah.
oh,
I know. It's very powerful. And here's the thing. Once you own something outright, you own another human being, you own a group, you own a sector, the possibilities are endless, which is why I was very attracted to Jennifer Billick's work, because she takes it all the way out. And you better listen. People better listen. No one knew that when the Black woman came, all these other things were you didn't realize, oh, she's pregnant at the same time my wife's pregnant. So we can sell that baby and get the breast milk. Oh my goodness, we didn't know. Like, you don't know what you don't know. Then riverboats come along, Mississippi here, Louisiana here and there. You're putting a brothel on there. Oh my goodness, I can lease out the women that I own. You don't know what you don't know. No one knew that Black women were going to be currency. So this is a woman. She's going to help me she's going to help us in the house. She's going to work in the field. She's a sex slave. Oh my goodness, who knew she could become currency? So you don't know what you don't know. As time moves along, you think of new things. So you see surrogacy slowly evolving. Mm-hmm. You see the encroachment of prostitution, and you have to follow the money. The United States, their eyes is on the German brothel system. Eyes are on the systems in Australia, New Zealand. What's working and what's making money? People are looking at Thailand and these other countries, and they're looking at their GDP. And you see prostitution, in addition to cosmetic and gender surgeries, together makes up a nice, healthy piece of the GDP of several nations around the world. So we have to be realistic. And we have to see it for what it is. It's new veins or new threads of capitalism, different forms of capitalism. And we have to understand that it's about the money. So that's why I'm not talking to anybody. I'm certainly not talking to any men about what is a woman. Hush. You know what a woman is. Let's get to the point. Are we running out of ideas? Are we at the end stages of capitalism? Are we reverting back to the caves? We can't even evolve as a species to stop the commodification of the woman. Are we ever going to end that? Especially where we live in the times of sheer abundance. We have, some people have a lot more money than others. That's the problem, which is why I also pay attention to the placenta and the placenta fluid. We are choosing suffering at this point. We're choosing suffering at this point. There is no need for prostitution. We are abundant. We have everything that we need. There's no need for it. There's no need for any woman to be driven down into destitution, prostitution. There is no need to be chopping up little girls and taking their body parts out, rewarding them for going into menopause. There is no need to be talking to college girls about sugaring is great and empowering. Yeah, set up your little OnlyFans. Oh, do this, do that. Oh, sex work is empowering. It's just like a job. It's just like work. There's no need for it. But there are intentional, methodical moves to move women into commodity.
Would you say there is any point in history where you think, in women's history, let's just say in the US where we were making any headway, or where you feel like there was hope? Like, do you feel like where we are now makes total sense given what has transpired? Or are you kind of aghast at what, like at this particular point in history?
Well, I think that, I think in the 70s, 60s, 70s, I think when we got some movement, some rights, um, some changes with the second wave feminism, I think that was a good time. Title IX, Title VII helped Black women and women. Title IX helped women the ability to move around much more freely. But I think what happens is every time we feel like we're moving ahead, because I feel like, everything that happened, everything that was a positive move forward, there are steps to push us back. And we couldn't see those steps. We just couldn't see it. So twisting sexual exploitation and degradation of women into being powerful and empowering and massaging young women's minds into thinking that's okay.
Mm.
We can't see it. We have a hard time as women to see the snake slithering and pulling us back. And then we feel like we're ahead, but we cannot see those tiny little steps that then grow into big steps, that grow into mountains. So, how these programs out here, they were women's studies, and now they're not women's studies anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody's noticing that that's not a good thing.
When did, on the topic of no one noticing, when
Right.
did the trans stuff, like the insanity around the trans stuff, come into your periphery? I mean, when did it start kind of bubbling up, and to the point where you couldn't ignore it and you like had to speak on it?
I think that when I saw, more and more racist comments, because I have been a professor teaching about the evolution of Black women, Black women in Europe, Black women in the United States, Black women in the Caribbean, and talking about race, ethnicity, gender, social class, all of those things coming together, intersectionality, all of that as part of mental health, multicultural. Students have to learn all of these things so that they can move on. And I knew about the Venus Hottentot, Sarah Bartman, and I knew about it was immediate. I immediately knew that it was connected to scientific racism, where in order to conquer Africa, in order to completely take Africa, there needed to be justification for it. So to say, well, these people, they have a low IQ. These people are barely humans. These people are more like gorillas and orangutans. These people's anatomy is different. These people have XYZ. These were all of the ways that they would justify taking Africa completely, Europe to take Africa completely. They had to sell it. Just like now they're selling all sorts of things about why a woman is not a woman. Changing the language everywhere. Dehumanizing women is the exact same way that African people were dehumanized. So when they brought over to Europe for science, they had, Black women, and they talked about the Black woman's anatomy being very different from the white woman's anatomy and more like animal. And so I hear it. I heard it loud and clear in the arguments for why white men are included inside womanhood. That we were even more, that Black women were less refined, that Black women had strong femurs and strong shoulders and strong femurs and thicker bone density and all of that, to say, well, see, you let those Black women into womanhood. Why aren't you letting men into womanhood? That's that racist argument. It comes from the science. And what was the goal of the scientists and the goal of those who were justifying taking the whole continent to get scientific proof? They said, "Oh, okay, let's describe Black men and let's describe Black women as animalistic as possible, as inhumane as possible, in order to add to the justification of conquering Africa and taking all of Africa." So then Christian people, right? This is a Anglo-Christian space in Western Europe. I know not everybody's Anglo, but the ruling powers that were moving about, staunch Catholics, staunch Christian, Protestants, and all of that. Well, now you have the Bible, and now you sneak in a little chapter about how you have to take care of the lesser man and the lesser woman. Okay, and Sarah Bartman served a dual role. She was, the research on her justified women being in a subjugated position, period, and Black people being in a subjugated position and worthy of the taking. So this poor woman was put up on display, a South African woman put up on display. She was sexually assaulted on a regular basis. She was prostituted out. Those men knew that they were not with a orangutan or a gorilla. So the men that bought her, they knew, but we love to use these terms. And during the day, she had to stand up on a podium, displayed naked, and she was also taken into the halls of science for study while she was alive, and studied post-mortem and dissected, and then put up on display in a museum. You again have this prototype, this complete inhumane treatment. She had no allies, totally justified, and she had a few little abolitionists that came in to try to fix the situation, but not till intense damage was done. So when I hear, well, if you let Black women into womanhood, then why can't you let these, people with a Y chromosome come into womanhood? Or to try to compare yourself to being oppressed like a Black woman when really you're a white male. We're talking about white men who can make decisions to conquer any nation in the world. If we want to invade Syria, that's what we're going to do. We don't need to ask anybody. If we're going to invade Iraq, Afghanistan, that's what we're going to do. Why? Because we're in charge. So, how can you call yourself as oppressed as women, right? So these are people that have the power to step into womanhood and then step out of womanhood when they're ready to flex that power, if you get out of line. So is what we're talking about. But I heard that right away. It brought me back to Sarah Bartman, brought me back to that piece of history, the pseudo-scientific history, things that I've taught over the years, concepts that I've taught over the years. It rung like a bell, the masculinization of the Black woman, the dehumanization of the Black woman to justify other moves and actions and agendas. So I think that is what got me. And, women of all nationalities, this has really struck me, women of all nationalities saying things like, the white woman is the standard. And I said, you're actually a woman of color saying that, or you're a white liberal woman saying that, or you're a Black woman saying that, or you're a Persian woman saying that. Wow. So those types of things, saying this woman is the standard, and then trying to put it on white women as if the white woman blocked the Black woman from coming into womanhood and then later relented. That did not happen. We all existed as women in our different varying levels of oppression, and we just move from wherever we are. We exist as a woman. So I don't care to go through the machinations of all of that. I see the big picture. It is a tool of oppression. It's a tool to make sure that we keep chaos going. We get people to argue with each other. We get women of different nationalities to argue with each other. We get people confused and using all this terminology that no one likes, you know. And you have people on the left, you have this liberal arm that does not see that their actions are tools of colonization. They feel totally justified. They feel completely right with what they're doing and what they say, you know. So hope I didn't get off too far on that.
No. Thank you for outlining all of that. I mean, accusing anyone who opposes trans ideology, accusing them of being racist, the main talking point that I hear is the binary is racist. The binary that to say that we are a sexually dimorphic species is to call us is to be racist. And it just kind of clicked a couple weeks ago where I thought, how dehumanize? Like on the one hand, you're saying that indigenous people weren't sexually dimorphic, and we know that humans are sexually dimorphic. So they're implying that indigenous people who identified as two-spirit are less human-like, right? To say that this person is not sexually dimorphic is actually to make them into some kind of other animal or alien.
Isabella, let me tell you something. I don't understand I don't understand it. I've seen it. I cannot say one sentence on it. I don't know how you could possibly reverse it and call it racist. I couldn't speak on it. I don't understand how.
It's nonsensical. I guess that means it doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense. I've only heard it.
Yeah.
And I choose to not even
go there,
be bothered with it, because
totally.
all I can hear is more nonsense. Now, one of the things that all of the I've even heard something about sexual dimorphism is an act of colonialism and white supremacy, and that they invented it or something.
That's from Alok. You know Alok?
No, I don't.
Oh God, I don't want to. Yeah.
You know why? I'm okay not knowing all of these little details, because we need to, as women, stay focused on the big picture. And what I want to do is keep the big picture alive, all of the different pieces. The T piece is the pimp hand. That's the hand that's coming in and that's beating the woman or beating womanhood into answering to a new name. When the slaves came, the strongest African who did not want to take an English name was strung up. I always talk about Alex Haley because we know the story. Most people know that, or some people know the story of Roots.
Yes.
And that African man, Kunta Kinte, he came through and he said, I'm not answering to the name Toby. And he was strung up and whipped until he had to answer to the name Toby. And so that's what's happening right now. All of these industries and organizations are coming together and they're saying, and they're telling us who we are, forcing new identities on us. And if you say, I don't like it, you're called phobic. If you say you don't like it, you're a bigot. If you say you don't like it, you're a bad girl. And that's what's happening. You have the British Psychological Society wanting to normalize calling women sluts. You have Planned Parenthood, they have just lost their minds. Everything is vulva this and all of that. Scientific journals calling women Black birthing bodies and vaginal receptacles. So you have multiple industries that's participating, and the trans dominance is the shield that's being used for responding to our dissent and our fight against the dehumanization. So I keep a big picture. I don't get into all of it. If any man, if a man wants to try to step to me to have a conversation about what is a woman, I go, oh no, I'm not having this conversation with you. You're a colonizer. You have the power to step into my world. And then if I don't listen to you, you have the power to step out and then flex your dominance. So this is not a fair conversation, and I did not give you permission. You do not have my permission to have these conversations. You do not have my permission to call me these alternative things. And that's that. You know what I mean? Just generally speaking, I don't go down the deep roads and all that, because that's what a pimp does. A pimp keeps his community of women that he has subjugated confused, in defense mode, defending themselves, competing with the other girls, praying that everything's going to be okay that evening. Every day is chaos. You think your name was Julie, but I renamed you Rose, and I'm going to beat you until you answer the rose. Okay? Or one girl brings home $2,000 and she's rewarded. Another girl brings home $8,000 and I beat the crap out of her in front of everybody. Okay? That keeps everybody under control. You don't know what the reward punishment schedule is. So you become like a lab rat. And that's what happens when we participate in explaining ourselves and explain, well, a woman has 2 X chromosomes and a woman has ovum, blah, blah, blah. These men know, they know. They're playing games. They know. They're just playing games. But that's that I always feel like they've taken on man. All of these different systems are participating in chaos making. And we have to pay attention to that. That is how girls are controlled. That is how women are controlled with those type of techniques. Once the woman is completely dismantled, then it's locked and loaded and you could do whatever. I'm going to say something about surrogacy. We had an attorney and I think a doctor get a prison sentence here in my little community. I don't remember how many years they got, but what they did was they got some women and told them that they, had parents that, for them to be surrogates. But the reality is they did not have parents. They simply implanted the embryo. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they flew from the United States to the Ukraine to get the embryo, something like that. Came back, put the baby in the woman, and while the baby is growing in several women, they went out to look for parents to grow and sell those babies to. And somewhere in all of it, they got caught. They said to the judge at sentencing, this is just the tip of the iceberg. If you only knew. Those were kind of like their warning, summative words to the judge. I'll send you the article. It was a news article that came out here. Okay. Those women said, if you, and eventually, they found parents and all of that, but it was a baby manufacturing and sale business. Okay. Then I have a woman that I know. She works passionately, fiercely in homeless with the homeless. So she's in the street all the time. And the injustices in the street is ridiculous. She called me. She said, "Oh my God, I don't know how much longer I could do this. Now there's a white baby on the street that somebody's trying to sell for 50,000." I said, "Okay, you know, this is like this now. Where is it going to go?" And all kind of women, all nationalities of women do surrogacy. So it's not, so this is the dismantling of women that I pay attention to. That's why I don't go in. And if it doesn't make any sense to me, then I chalk it up to the gorilla pimp that has his hand up, he's ready to slap you and make you submit to chaos. Make you say, yeah, you're right. You're right. I didn't bring home enough money, or whatever. I chalk it up to that. I don't try to figure it out. When it's a bunch of the language twisted up, twisting civil rights language, twisting feminist language, twisting language that's just for womanhood, I go, oh, that's the pimp hand talking, Like, I'll give an example. Martina Navratilova. This is a woman that was an ally. This is like the woman that brings home the prostituted girl that brought home $8,000. She brought home the most. This Martina Navratilova was someone that full on ally, fully there in the community, great name, lesbian, the whole thing. And look how she was punished. High value ally, ruthlessly punished. So this is how the gorilla pimp operates. So you got to pay attention to, all of us have to pay attention to things like that. You tear a high value woman down. You tear a strong slave down in front of everybody. You make sure it's public. You tear that person down and it elicits compliance. It's a slave management technique.
That makes so much sense to identify the patterns of domination, to recognize them so clearly as you have, and to even the induction technique, the confusion technique to sidetrack us. I mean, like I'm a victim of that too. I do spend a lot of time walking women through the details of why this isn't this two-spirit thing has nothing to do with the T, and why this has nothing to do with the calling someone a birthing body, has nothing to do with reproductive justice. Like, these are two entirely distinct things happening that are actually in conflict with one another, not a part of the same whole. But yeah, the what I you dropped so many like truth bombs. I mean, the surrogacy element of the kids being sold, just being the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, I mean, right in front of us, women are being raped in prisons.
Yeah,
women are being sexually assaulted in prisons right in front of us.
Right.
Okay, and you have women saying things like, well, rapes happen all the time. And you want to take a deep breath and scream, like, you're a woman. How are you supporting this? So you have women, when they feel power is shifting, some women just want to align with power, whether it makes sense or not, whether it's fair,
like
whether
a survival
it's fair or not.
technique.
That's right.
Yeah.
So here is white patriarchy. But it's moving. I got to move with it. It's shifting. I got to shift with it. So if I'm rewarded for saying sex work is work, then I'm going to shift with the power. If I'm rewarded for saying, trans women are women, I'm going to be rewarded. If I see that these men want to get down with sex robots and child sex robots, I'm going to move with it. The only people that are doing TED Talks about child sex dolls and pedophilia are women. They're the ones standing up there doing the TED Talks. They're the ones, wealthy, privileged women talking about sex work is work, will never have to end up in destitution, prostitution, praising something that they have no idea has subjugated us since the beginning of time. Okay? We have thing that we're fighting. We're fighting our colonization while some of us are repositioning as the different powers move. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. That's why I try to stay big picture. I don't want to get into these little arguments, and I'm tired of Facebook jail. So every time I get into a thing, I get a little 30-day sentence. So I'm like, okay, just Suzanne, that's you're supposed to just stay focused on the big picture. Don't get into the dog fight too much. And everybody is in the dog fight, and that helps.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definite. It helps. It helps to keep, it helps to stay out there and to keep fighting. But look at the systemic issues that we are fighting.
Yeah.
You are moving 6'3". Amy Ichikawa told me this. 6'2", grown, giant men with giant penises into the prison, straight face. No forensic psychologists are talking about this. No detectives are talking about this. No profilers are talking about this. Nobody's saying anything. No guards. Everybody is afraid. Everybody is scared to death. Why? This is white patriarchy. This is white. It's no longer Trojan horse. I used to say white Trojan horse patriarchy, but it's just out. It's just out. Who else has the power to do this? In your face, they're locking women in with men whose records are extensive. It's almost as if they're hand selecting the most violent on purpose. Again, linear, methodical, purposeful. It's not random. It's an orchestrated campaign.
What do you think they're not showing us? If this is what they're overtly doing, what do you think is, happening behind the scenes? I mean, how much worse can it get than, mutilating, healthy children's bodies and selling children and housing men in women's prisons and sex trafficking? Like, could it possibly get worse? Are we going to reach some kind of...
Absolutely. Absolutely. It could absolutely get worse. You have to say to yourself, how do men think? Okay. How do they think in corporate spaces? And if we did hypothetical on a business plan for surrogacy, a business plan for the gender industrial complex, a business plan for brothels, they're not here yet. See? Just like right before it was thought that the Black woman could be the backbone could be the launch of the bond market. That happened on Tuesday. Well, there was a Monday where you couldn't even see it coming. Well, what could the United States look like if there were brothels in every state? Okay. We don't have that right now. And I took Germany and I placed it in. I think it fits in Wisconsin. If it generates that kind of money and it's the size of one of our states,
oh God,
what could it look like in 50 states?
Right.
Switzerland thought they were cute and brought the age down to 16 for brothels. 16. And then I think they felt bad and changed it. I'm not sure. Half of these Eastern European countries stamped the poor girl passport saying she's 18, 19, and she's not. So where is it going?
Yeah, just expansion, just more of it.
Just take it all the way out. I think in 2002, 2003, I'm forgetting the nation tried to put prostitution on the stock market. And then it didn't work. It didn't work out. But they wanted to make like a theme park of brothels, like just a huge entertainment center. Was that in the United States or was that? Australia. I don't think the United States, because we only have prostitution in a few counties in Nevada. But I don't want to name the wrong country. And I just sent this article out to a bunch of people, and I'm forgetting. But can you imagine prostitution on the stock market? Can you imagine? It'd just be horrible. Now, at the same time, while we're talking about the commodification of the woman, we have women leaving the job market. We have women that are still trapped because of this Delta and this Omicron business. And you still have women, if you're single mother and you're home with your child and your child's school opens, then closes, then opens, then closes. Oh, we have a new wave. Open, close. Teachers quit, da, da, da. And you're a single mom and you have a job that's out. You can't work from home. You have the type of job where you cannot work from home. How are you surviving? What are they not telling us about how many women are being evicted, losing their homes, becoming homeless, being stuck and becoming more destitute? Nobody talks about it. Janet Yellen, our money, our International Monetary Fund lady, our monetary fund lady here in the United States said that women lost the majority of jobs, if not all. Majority Black women. We're only 7% of the population, but women bore the brunt of the job losses. Where are they? What's going on? What's the updates? We hear nothing. So it's the absence of what's not being talked about that I worry about too. So now women are pushed out of the job market. Now you start making destituted decisions. Now you have women pushed into prostitution, pushed into OnlyFans type of things, pushed into exotic dance, pushed into surrogacy, pushed into other ways of surviving. Now here's what happens when for women, once you move into volume, meaning, there's 10 women in a brothel. Okay, now there's 20 women. Okay, now there's 30 women. Now there's 50 women. Guess what? Men are in control. They control the pricing. And now it comes down. Now whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is you think you want to charge, it comes down. Because if you say no, a man can get this girl to say yes at that price and that activity. She says no, I'm going to find the hungriest woman to drop your pricing. The same in everything. Commercial surrogacy, boy, if you thought it should be 100,000, it dropped to 50. Then it'll drop to 30. Then it'll drop to 20. The more women are involved. Sugaring. Everybody was like, oh, I'm a cute little college girl. I can get a rich sugar daddy. That's cool. I'm happy for anybody that's like, you know what? He paid my tuition and bought me a car. I'd be like, okay, I have nothing to say. But now, sugaring, every American college girl is beautiful. Every young American college girl is beautiful. She has skin is glowing, she's ready for this life. And the highest peak of her sex energy and the highest peak of her regenerative energy. Every American college girl is beautiful. Now the man is in control because he has choice. A beautiful young woman should have 5 men on their knees begging and crawling for her. But it becomes the reverse because now women are pressed out of the economy. Now you have 200 women, 200 young women sugaring. I can choose who I want and I don't have to pay much. So we get into a situation where now women over time press down to almost indentured servitude. Just surviving, just existing, where the woman should be up here. The woman ends up getting pressed down. if we don't watch what is happening to us in this economy, how we're pushed out, how we're, and the more we hear, oh, it's empowering, it's like a marketing. That's like part of the sales team, pushing and pushing and pushing and grooming and grooming and grooming. So, hey, if you charge $1,000 for a sexual activity, good. Well, what happens when the marketplace has 1,000 women? This is the volume that men want and men profit from. So when we talk about prostitution, it's not, it after a while, it doesn't even become about the woman. It's about their real estate holdings, the cash flow, the money that goes into the tax system, the money that goes into the community, the airlines, all the men that fly in, the restaurants, the hotel, everybody's making money. There's like a whole cottage industry around the woman. Just like foster care is a whole cottage industry around a little child. Just like surrogacy is going to be a whole cottage industry around the baby. And that's what we as women, I think that we need to start looking at that. So the worse the economy is for us, the more we're going to be pushed, the more women are pushed in multiple different directions. And everybody's calling it wonderful and empowering because it benefits men and their business plans.
And temporarily, perhaps, results in an income boost for the prostitute. Maybe if it's not street prostitution, but it's only temporary because, as you said, the more women included, the lower the prices of the quotes, service that's being delivered.
Right.
So
I'm happy for the few that can make big bucks and are smart and is going to, buy property and all of that. I'm happy. But when I'm reading and hearing about women in Germany, the average cost inside the brothel is $50 or $50 to $60, maybe $100, maybe $200. I'm sure there's high end and and all of that. But we're
just
talking
getting a percentage of
Western Europe. They are slave holders. The majority of the women come from Eastern Europe with difficult economies, shattered economies, no safety net type of economies. So they act like, oh, they're so nice, but you're talking about sex migrants coming over to Western Europe. The women come from another part of the world. Well, Europe, but they come from Eastern Europe out of destitution. So you're dirt poor. You walk in, you can't be, well, I'm $2,000. You're so desperate.
Yeah.
See? So we as women, we like I said, we need to start paying attention to all of this. Don't just listen to the sound bites. Or, street prostitution, brothel-based prostitution. And then you have the business on Black women and brown women with street prostitution. Now, like in Nevada, you have Black women in and out of prison, street women on the street in and out of prison. And then you have women having other tough experiences inside of brothels. Either way, it's not like one is great and one, is not,
Well,
I know it's a lot, huh?
It's so much, but I so appreciate. I mean, this is exactly why I was so excited to speak with you today, is because you are this kind of zooming out, the bigger picture, identifying the patterns, really naming the strategy, not getting caught up in the little kind of conversations, subgenres of the trans stuff, because it's so much bigger. I mean, if anything, I think what women will take away from this is that the T is just one facet
Oh,
of this bigger picture: domination,
exactly.
colonization, subjugation
Exactly.
of
Yeah,
women. But
exactly.
one facet of this that I would love to get into some detail on is the medical sales of placenta
Right.
and cord blood. And my kind of window into this was as a birth doula in New York City, serving women in the hospital, um, having to strategize. I mean, it sounds, I can't even believe what I'm about to say. Having to strategize with the couples that were paying me to be their doula, having to have a secret strategy of how we were going to steal what they would call stealing, even though it's rightfully theirs. I mean, the mother grew
Exactly.
it from her body, but how we were going to steal the placenta from the hospital. So, they'd bring the Tupperware and I'd be the one, I'd say, okay, you're just going to hold your baby and I'm going to be the one to just like very on the sly, put it in the Tupperware. Hopefully the nurse won't
Mhm.
notice. And
Mhm.
then, sometimes that would be successful. Other times, the OB or medical midwife would say, sorry, hospital policy, it has to go to pathology, where they would, soak it in formaldehyde. And in some cases, the couples, that I served would pick it up a week later. Other times, the hospital would, oh, just they lost it. Sorry,
Yep.
whoops, we didn't know you were
Yep.
taking it. It's already somewhere else. It's in the biohazard bag. Blah blah blah. So my understanding of, my very preliminary, rudimentary understanding of the value of the placenta was that it was worth about 40 grand, that, the woman wasn't allowed to sell it herself. Um, and that, medical sales company partner with hospitals. And I think most doulas have heard that, but I know after talking to you before this, interview, that is just the tip of the
Oh,
iceberg. So, yes, I would love for you to go into what the hell is going on.
oh my gosh. Since the beginning of time, man is so enamored with the woman's body and shocked by the woman's body and repulsed by the woman's body and attracted to the woman's body. So all of our fluids just wig them out. But they know that it's power. They know it means something. They know. That's why they're always in our bodies, always looking, us always under the microscope, always trying to control it, because just our existence controls them. So they fight us
Mm.
and fight us and fight us, and constantly using shame and guilt as tools to keep us feeling bad about our own bodies. So how dare you take my placenta, the fluid, the Wharton's jelly, the umbilical cord? How dare you put it in a big red box and call it hazardous waste? Pat us on the head, act like it's something that's going to blow up or something, like it's a
Oh my
bomb. They got
gosh,
to
yeah.
they got to put it in a red metal box
Oh my
with a
god.
big hazard sign. It's almost, they might as well put the nuclear symbol on it, and then laugh, take it away, and sell it for 500,000 to $1 million. And we have poverty in the United States. So um, I think Wharton's jelly is like $60,000. The fluid, the placenta fluid, is 500,000 to $1 million, depending on how much fluid you get, from the woman.
Do you mean the blood that comes from the cord, or do you mean like the amniotic fluid?
Everything,
Just everything. All the parts together amount
all
to
the
500
parts.
to a million.
Well, I think just the fluid is 500,000 to $1 million.
Wow.
Girl, don't quote me. I'm not a biologist, but every ounce of the birthing the birthing
What belongs to the mother.
mass. It
Right.
belongs to the mother. The mother creates it, and it's very profitable. I think the Wharton's jelly is 60,000, about 60,000, and the fluid is 500 to $1 million, and stem cell and all of that. All of this is used in heart surgeries, cancer treatment, eye care, Alzheimer's, knee replacement. Everybody knee replacement. Now they're promising easier surgeries because of the woman, because of our feminine divine. It causing everybody to have health, more health, longer lives. Now, all regenerative science, life sciences is looking at longevity with the use of our bodies. It's an incredible amount of companies that are born every day. Biotech, biopharma, life sciences. And they have these nice, cool, sleek, modern websites. And when you dig down, it's part of it stem cell, embryonic stem cells, embryonic parts, blood, umbilical cord, the placenta fluid, the actual placenta. Now, why do we have poverty? Why do we have poverty? Why can't every kid have a trust fund at birth? You're born, boom, you had a trust fund of $500,000. It is estimated up to $1 million per live birth. And when you look at the stocks, you see Immunex. They got all these fancy names. Bio, la da 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 da. All this cute, fancy, modern, sleek stuff off of the woman's body. And they get publicly traded and all of that. So why doesn't every kid have a trust fund?
And we wonder why there's so much propaganda against home birth.
That's right. Oh, it's dangerous. Mm-hmm. I made a post with the placenta, and it went viral. And then one of the apps, I won't name the app, covered it. It said it was like danger. See? And all I did was say, this is ours. I didn't write a big thing on it, blah, blah, blah. I just said, this is ours. 3 words with a picture of a placenta. You would have thought I posted the AK-47, with a terrorist plot written out, That's it. And it went viral, and then it got like a warning message on it.
Wow.
You see, because that's awareness. That is bringing to awareness our body, our femina. And the excuse of poverty, there should be no poverty. What's wrong with everybody thriving, living, feeling good? What's wrong with children running and having a great time and getting piano lessons and saxophone lessons and soccer and gymnastics? Every kid. What's wrong with that? Why can't every kid come up happy? Okay. I think at birth, every kid should just get a $500,000 trust fund. What's wrong with that? Let's live abundantly. Okay. But you see, you separate the woman from her placenta. You separate the woman from her baby. You separate the woman from her breast milk. Men even have tried and still try to separate the woman from her smells.
Oh
Gonna tell the woman, oh, your breast milk is no good. It's not nutritious enough. And in fact, I think it has bacteria in it. Oh, your vagina smells. You got to go put all these chemicals on it. But then 3 hours later, Can I have some?
Oh my gosh. The fascination, the repulsion, the control, the desire,
Yeah.
like just
Yeah. Oh, so you use shame to make me feel bad, but now you want some. I see. I see how that goes. And then you're gonna tell me that the essence of life is an infection. The essence of my life, of the world's life, is biohazard waste? I don't think so. That's how you use shame and guilt to separate the woman from her power, separate the woman from her body. Okay? This is what we have here. And you look at the stock market, between the bond market that I just described off of the back of the Black woman, and life sciences, biotech, biopharma, and all of bioengineering, all this new world order in new forms of capitalism. And then you're gonna look at the woman and talk to her about prostitution. You're gonna look at the woman and then everybody's so, oh, sex work is work. Don't take work away from women. Don't do that. Don't do that. Really? We should have beautiful housing, beautiful condos and townhomes, beautiful housing, beautiful, no homelessness, no poverty, no prostitution, no hungry baby. How is a baby going hungry and their baby placenta is being used and everybody is profiting? How is this? I know it takes a minute.
and this is what you mean when you say poverty is a choice.
Poverty is a choice. Don't come to me with no excuses, and I don't want to hear it. That would be my response to anybody that was like, but, some people like to say things like, but that's selfish of you. Is it? That's selfish of you to want, but what about children? What about the children? You see? And this is how our emotions are manipulated as women. What about, but how could you take it away from children? No, you got to take it away from children. Just cut out the broker. Be honest. Redistribute the wealth. How dare you? And got the nerve to send mothers and fathers a bill after the birth, got the nerve to say, oh, you owe us $20,000. No, baby, you owe me $1 million. Let's talk about it like that. You see,
I would love to see women who birth in hospitals start to fucking sue the hospitals for their stolen placentas. But
oh
I'm
no,
pretty sure that every woman signs about 25 pages worth of legal documents that
that's
no one
right,
reads
right,
while they're contracting or maybe
absolutely.
even pushing their baby out,
Exactly. I mentioned that. In some Q&A with Sovereign Women Speaks. Yeah, we sign it away. So what? Tough. We're 52% of the population. We should be like, tough. Reparations for womanhood. Reparations for womanhood and reparations for womanhood now. And we're going to stop this bullshit about prostitution and we're going to end poverty now. Stop it right now. You see, oh, but you signed up. No, but you lied. You manipulated. You massaged our emotions, making us feel like we're doing something good for humanity. And guess what? Two things can be true at the same time. Wonderful that we are the life source, we are the divine feminine to be able to, heal, to be able to have what it takes as part of our divine feminine to heal and run me my money. Two things can be true at the same time. Run us our money. Now, the reality is that men would probably dominate it. Men would probably take it over and figure out a way to take the money from women. Get the money from that's why I said trust fund. because after I made a little post on it, mind you, I was working on my talk already, and for a couple of the DCN, then later Sovereign Women Speak. So I'd already, from undergrad, I was in a very science-heavy university system, research and science. So I had become made aware of the placenta from then. This is like 34 years ago or whatever. I can't even think. So I was able to, start organizing my thoughts a little bit. And so I just made that little post because it was on my mind. I said, let me just throw this up. You know who came to my inbox, Isabella?
Oh my gosh. Who?
Men. Some women came and they were like, oh, Dr. Vierling, do you know how I could sell my placenta? Da, 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 da. And then I was like, oh my God, wouldn't it be great if women could start getting their money? And then my inbox was filling up with men. My girl and I were about to have a baby, blah, blah, blah. Men. Why? Men can do the calculations about us, and we have a hard time. We have a hard time understanding our abundance and the value of our abundance. We just don't do the math. Men do the math. Men do the math. It's automatic. They get it automatic. We just don't know what we have. We just don't know how important it is. And before we even get a chance, and I'm talking, age 10, 11, 12, shame and guilt are used to control us. Among other things, among other things.
It makes me think of I'm in a course right now with Haida Abendroth for studying modern matriarchal societies, and we've just gotten started in talking about the gift economy and how the original gift economy is a mother's love. That is the origin of how we experience abundance as women, as mothers. And I wonder if that, kind of ties into the conceptual, like why conceptually it's more difficult perhaps for women to see their own, potential for their own exploitation, but also to see the value in under patriarchy of how they can be extracted.
Exactly. It's like trying to explain to a rich person how much they have. It's like a rich person is crying, and everybody goes, "What are you crying for? Look how much you have." We just don't see it. It's like a privilege. It's a biological privilege. We have it, and men don't have it. A millionaire over there has $5 million, and you don't have $5 million. We can see what that person could do with $5 million. And yet you have rich people that lose their fortunes every day because they can't see what they could do with the $5 million. We can't see it, and we're literally born into a gaslit environment constantly. I always talk about the Easter egg. How our kids go on an Easter egg hunt. You don't even realize that it's foolish. The egg is in us. Tell the truth. We have the egg. Ain't nothing to hunt for. You ain't got to look for it. The woman is in possession of the egg. Don't turn it into a little toys game. It's cute. It's cute when kids run and look for the egg, but at least they should know the truth. That is the power of the woman. See? So we're born into situations where we're born into situations where we're separated from our body. And as soon as we're separated from our body, it's celebrated. I read this COVID, there was this it was like a little campaign, a global thing. What are all the kids around the world doing during the shutdown? This is the first year. And I don't remember who did it. It was just like a little series, and it was like kids from all over the world. And then there was one story, but it was written. They didn't do a video of it. I think it might have been too disturbing. It was a girl in South Africa, I think, one of the African countries. And she had her clitoris. And all the other girls in the neighborhood did not have their clitoris. They had gone through clitoridectomy. And her father was like, nope, not my kid. Modern, not doing that to my kid. So during the pandemic, she went to visit her grandmother. Her grandmother took her to get a clitoridectomy. And when she came back, the girls agreed to play with her. See? That's just one example. She had her femina, her body integrity, and she was made to feel ashamed and guilty for it. Ostracized. Then when she got rid of a part of her and a part of her sex energy, sex power, feminine power, she got rid of it, then she could be more integrated into the community. So we're literally rewarded for saying goodbye to something that's ours, that's powerful, regenerative, necessary, important, and there's nothing wrong with it. See? So that's a part of the shaming. You're going to take my placenta, you're going to take all of it and put it in a big red hazardous waste box and make me feel like you're doing me a favor. And sometimes they get a disposal fee. That's
Oh
foul.
my gosh.
That's really foul.
Wow.
Right?
I mean, yeah, the bill at the end is the real kicker, that people go into debt.
They should be like, it's on us.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
The hospital should be like, don't worry about it.
I got this one.
We're good. We're good.
Oh my
I mean, why does it have to be so unfair? Why does it have to be like that? Why? This is a choice. There's no excuse. It's a choice. It's manipulation. It's intentional. And as we discuss, we need to say, I don't want to hear the runaround. I don't want to hear the gaslighting. I don't want to hear the narcissism sneaking through. I don't want to hear it. I really think that women, I think that we deserve reparations for it. In the trillions. Not no cute little thing. To end poverty, period. You can get jobs from it. You can create construction jobs and, environmental cleanup jobs and this kind of job and that kind of job. And women and children off the street and families being able to have some abundance and to ease up the struggle of running around 2 and 3 jobs. No,
Yeah.
But it just cannot get into the hands of pimps. They're already, these biotech, I consider them pimps. But then, like a street pimp or organized crime could really take it to the next level. So it would have to be set up in a, in a well thought out way. But I'm sorry.
Wow. I mean, it's fascinating to consider. Or just the end to medical sales of placentas, like just the end to that, just one facet of this. Like it is so fascinating to even consider what that would look like. And I think like one thing that I found myself doing is, part of the programming is that there just isn't enough, or that it's such a big issue that we could never find a practical solution. And you've just outlined a very practical solution. Obviously, the details would need to be worked out. And as you said,
Absolutely.
couldn't get into the hands of PIN, but even just taking the placenta, knowing the value of that and giving, the child that start, giving that mother that start.
Yeah.
But gosh, I just feel like we're so far behind just with like raising consciousness around this particular issue.
Right.
Just that what it's worth is like should be like classified information, given like what it could mean for women and what it could change for society.
Society. Yeah. Yeah. If people are getting their hearts cared for, their knees cared for, Alzheimer's cared for, cosmetics, I don't want to hear about somebody that put cosmetics on and their skin is all glowing and you got that from our placenta. Come on now.
Yeah.
Everybody's benefiting. Shareholders, some of these stocks, $100, $200, $300 a share. Dividend paying stocks, even where you get like a quarterly, distribution. So come on, it's ridiculous.
It's nuts.
It's ridiculous. Labs all over the place filled with jobs now that you need a high level of education, good education to even get in a lab, to even become a scientist, to become a bioengineer. That's that transhumanism stuff coming out. But now you have kids growing up in abject poverty. Some kids are still taking in lead poisoning, which affects cognitively. Well, how do we have this imbalance here? You have kids in these schools that are literally lowering expectations. Oh, we're not going to give grades. Oh, we're just going to do pass, no pass. Where are our engineers going to come from? Where are our scientists going to come from? Where are our humanity? We're going to need more, in my opinion, people with peace and humanity. they need to be able to pay the bills too. But why can't we have abundance? Why do we think of scarcity? We have to get rid of that concept. Scarcity comes out of feudalism. It comes out of feudalism, which is the historical roots in Europe that the United States has adopted. We have a feudal, capitalist safety net and business-like system from feudalism. It has its roots in there. Scarcity. Oh, you don't deserve that. Pull yourself up by the bootstrap. You've got to work, sun up to sundown. Okay. There's nothing wrong with hard work. That's cool. No problem. But if every kid had a trust fund, and every kid could learn and drink clean water and breathe good, healthy air, and there's jobs that are in abundance because we're taking care of what we're supposed to be taking care of, because we have the resources to do so. I know. It hits you.
Yeah. Yeah, you could say that. You could say that for sure. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm definitely coming away from this, interview, and I think women will as well, considering what is possible, not only what has been taken away systematically, having awareness of that. Mm-hmm. And then imagining actually what coming out of scarcity and imagining what is possible, and knowing that injustice is not just a state of the world, that it is a choice. It's a systematic choice. And
that's right.
I love the Easter egg thing that you mentioned. Yeah. I think that's so powerful.
Mm-hmm. All of it. It is a choice. I say put women in charge, but not liberal, not the.
Yeah, not those ones. Please no.
Not them, but we need some peace, we need some tranquility. All this stress, it needs to go. All this oppression right now coming out of the arms of the left, but in general, We need to see it for what it is. I'm not going to argue. I'm not arguing with you. We are in a situation where we are being colonized. We are being stripped. One of the first steps in colonization is to change somebody's identity, change their names, make them answer to a new name. Let's get it right now. And you change people's language. You tell them, you're not speaking that language anymore. You have to speak our language. So when you're conquered by language and you're conquered by identity, you're being colonized. And that's what's happening. That's the big picture. And everybody is participating. Everybody is participating. Psychological societies, doula, midwife, medical clinics. You go into gynecologist's office. How do you identify? How are you asking me that? I'm in the woman office. This is for woman. Don't ask me. Birthing, everything. Oh, the first woman this, the first woman that. Oh my God.
It's nuts.
Women
Totally nuts.
have to share space with men. Now children, girl children have to share space with men. Men over the water in UK hand out birth control to little girls. Well, it's supposed to be like our version of the Girl Scouts without parental authority. So now the pedophiles are coming on in because we're so vulnerable. We don't have an existence anymore as a sex-based class, and they're trying to beat Mama Bear out of the way for the gender industrial complex that's making room for the pedophiles. So everybody is piling in. Like with Africa, everybody was like, wow, I could make money like this. I could make money as a shipbuilder. I could make money. I'm a journalist. I could write all these articles. Oh, I'm in science. I could publish all these scientific journals. Oh, we can ship Africans to South America. Oh, we can ship Africans to the United States. Everybody saw the potential to make money and the potential to participate in business, getting scientific grants. Everybody's getting grants all over the world to do research. So womanhood is now like Africa on the plate, and everybody is chewing on it. Everybody's getting a little bite by participating in like a brotherhood. So everybody is looking out. Everybody's got a long game. So that's why I think women, you have to put the whole, put this gender industry in context. It's a part of the pie. Part of the pie. It's not the whole pie, it's a part of the pie. But the actions that we're seeing, men in sports, men in prisons, men here, I'm putting you in your place. I'm taking your language and I'm taking your identity. I'm taking your privacy. I'm going to make you lower your eyes. I'm going to make you submit. This is the breaking of the horse, breaking of the slave, breaking the woman down into answering to a new name. That's what that piece is. I know it's a little depressing, but
we have to know it. We have to know it. And women are strong enough to hear this message. We have to.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Got men sitting around on TV, 4 men on a panel talking about what is a woman. Oh my God. Like we're talking about atmospheric pressure or something. It's not even, we're not even human. And they're debating amongst themselves. Come on now. So it's very, very, very serious, and we have to move past it. We have to move past it. Start seeing the big picture. That's what I like to focus on, the big picture. Otherwise, we're just going to be chasing it. See this man that's going to be moved into a girl facility? We should all be lined up. We should be marching, lined up, screaming. Should be, calling all of our politicians, and we need to make the politicians feel it. Don't vote for these fools. That's not the only way to do it, but that's one way to, that's one way to do it. Because it's unbelievable. And people look at you with a straight face. Like it's okay. Men and women.
Yeah. It's
just look at you with a straight face. Yeah.
It's nuts. You think, oh, surely this point will wake them up. Surely they can't deny this. Nope.
Right. Isabella, I agree. I'm like, okay, what we going to do now? This is a grown man and they put him in with girls. Anyone? Bueller?
I know. It really was, I was indoctrinated. Like it really is a hypnotic trance that people are under. It really is. Like, that's the only way I can describe it. Someone saying, no, this really is a chair. It really is. Just squint, squint harder.
See, I never went through that. I just never went through that to undo it. Now I know that academic institutions and women's spaces were infiltrated, and that grooming, this literally made me look at the Garden of Eden story totally different. Eve. I have not thought about Eve and Lilith. I don't go there. I've written it off like, oh, and they're just trying to blame everything on women, blah, 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 blah. But what is in my mind now is the snake in the apple. How it just maneuvers and try to hand something. Oh, this is empowering. That's what when I hear these types of terms that's constantly trying to groom women, constantly trying to keep women in a certain position, I think about, don't bite the apple, sisters. Let's stick together. Let's step back, regroup. Don't bite the apple. Don't explain. Don't over-explain yourself. These men know what they're talking about. They're gaslighting. They know what a woman is. They know it's wrong for a man to be in a woman's prison. They know. They're just participants in our colonization. Don't bite that apple. Let's stick together in a different way.
I think that's a perfect way to end. Don't bite the apple.
Don't bite the apple, please. Because we got a fight ahead of us, Hannah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Suzanne. I mean, wow. Yeah, I'm speechless.
I love talking to you, Isabella. I love you. Press on. I know that you vibe with the big picture energy. Your interview with Amy. It's like you're looking at it all, and we all have to start doing that.
If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support my work, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To stay in the loop for my latest coaching programs, hypnosis sessions, free resource guides, and more, follow me on Instagram at whosebodyisit and visit my website, whosebodyisit.com.